What's your favorite scary movie?
Be like, I'm dying.
If some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, they guys," I'm like, "It's over and done. We're married now."
Someone in the movie, so I'm like, kiss. But
Oh God, what a sea of humanity.
What a sea of humanity indeed. Welcome into 52/1994, your live movie conversation podcast where we dive deep into the movies of 1994. I'm your host, Cody, and I'm thrilled to be joined this week by my fantastic co-host, Alyssa. Welcome in, Alyssa.
Thank you.
For those tuning in for the first time, we're so glad that you're here. Every week, 52 of them to be exact, we explore a different film from 1994, whether it's a classic hit or a quirky gem or something even worse than that. But we'll dive into this year's important releases. We discuss them in detail and then chat with the guest about their thoughts and experiences with the movie, and then also see what they're watching at the end of this. So today's movie of choice is called Serial Mom. So, Serial Mom. Before we jump into this week's movie, let us welcome Alyssa. Alyssa, thank you for joining us. Have you ever seen the movie that we're going to be discussing today? And if not, what was your first impressions?
never seen it, as with most movies that we discuss on 52/1994. No, have never seen this movie. This is also my first John Waters film. And I'm laughing because your name was what I was going to choose. We were on the same wavelength, and I decided against it. But I loved this movie. I thought it was so much fun. I love camp. I love quirky. I love insanity. And committing to the bit. That's what this entire movie is. It's just committing to the bit. So I had a great time.
Great. Yeah, this is my... Now, you've seen adaptations of a John Waters stuff because you've seen Hairspray,
Yes,
the musical.
I have seen Hairspray the musical, and I have a strong feeling that the original is other than the plot, it's a far cry. If his vibe is the same as it is in this movie, this is very far away from Hairspray the musical. So,
and honestly, though, I mean, I would love to watch Hairspray with you. Obviously, all versions, because I actually like the musical and the original. It's not too far off, honestly.
Okay.
Like the quirk. There's a little bit of like quirkiness that John Waters brings, but like what I was learning and when I read into him, he did like this stretch, or he did like 2 movies, I guess, that were PG.
So Hairspray's PG.
Hairspray's PG, and then Crybaby is also PG. And
Got it.
Crybaby is a musical, which is interesting because Hairspray worked so well as a musical. But those are his like PG features, and kind of him going back to the 50s or the 60s era, and that was John Waters. Like, he loves that stuff so much, and it's kind of always in his movies, the ones I've seen anyway, and what I've read about, but they are more rated R. So this is kind of him like transitioning back into we're still bringing in that like Beaver Cleaver aesthetic of this, but going a little bit harder and returning to his rated R form that he's done. And John Waters, of course, famous for working with famous drag queen Divine in some insane movies. I've still never watched movies with Divine in them, but they're supposed to be pretty gnarly. Specifically, one called Pink Flamingos, where Divine eats dog shit, I think, in one of it. It's crazy.
When I was looking up films and like movies that are similar, that like are a similar vibe, that one came up a lot. So I did not realize that was what happened.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but apparently they're supposed to be pretty good. They're always referencing them on Drag Race. RuPaul's Drag Race. They've actually done, I think it's always towards the end of the seasons of Drag Race, where they do like scenes. And I remember they did scenes from one of John Waters' films. And he's been a guest judge on there, I think, several times. So
I love that.
Yeah. Well, that all of that, the John Watersness of it, and the fact that you had never seen one is kind of why I picked it for you, because I figured you would like it.
Anything that is camp and slightly gay, you are
Camp,
you're like
gay, drag.
elected in.
I think that just lines up for everything. There's a severe lack of drag, I think, in this one. Could have used some more, or any. It would have been great. But yeah, that's why I chose you. And I had never seen this movie either. Of course, I'd seen the ones that I had mentioned, Cry Baby and Hairspray, before, and loved those films. And he uses a little bit more. Those were more accessible as a child when I was watching them, so we'll definitely need to check those out whenever we.
Mhm.
But of course, this is horror month. We were doing creature features, and I kind of took this Serial Mom as a creature feature. So I wanted to continue and end our Halloween themes or our horror themes this month with this serial killer movie. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it some and tell you a little bit more about Serial Mom. So this movie came out April 13th, 1994, so nowhere around the holiday season of Halloween or anything. It is directed and written by John Waters, and the cast includes Kathleen Turner as Beverly Sutphin, Sam Waterston as Eugene Sutphin, Ricky Lake, who's been in a couple of his movies, all of them, I think, or the last two anyway, as Misty Sutphin, Matthew Lillard in his first starring role as Chip Sutphin, and just wanted to. There's a bunch of other people in this, but Suzanne Summers plays herself in this movie from Three's Company, so that was a nice little pop in she had. Let me read you the synopsis from Google. Happy housewife Beverly Sutphin has a charmed life, a beautiful suburban home, a successful dentist husband, and two normal teenagers. However, when one of her son's teachers speaks disparagingly of the boy at a parent-teacher conference, Bev runs the instructor over in the school parking lot. Suddenly she has an insatiable taste for murder. 6 homicides later, the cops get wise to her crimes. Not terrible. The movie had a budget of $13 million, and sadly, it had a box office return of $7.8 million. So this one lost about $4 million, or $5 million from the budget. Rotten Tomatoes it was kind of in the middle here. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 63%. IMDb sitting at 6.8 out of 10, and Letterboxd is a 3.8 out of 5. So kind of in the middle, what we kind of expect from some of these films. Roger Ebert did not like this movie. He said that, like Clifford, a movie that we've talked about on one of our bonus episodes, this is a movie where the comedy doesn't work because at some underlying level, the material generates emotions we feel uneasy about. He gave it 2 out of 4 stars.
Okay.
And then Derek Adams of Time Out loved this movie. He said, an uproariously funny, marvelously malicious performance from Kathleen Turner. So fun stuff about that. Now, doesn't leave much of a legacy. And honestly, I had not heard too much about this movie until I saw it on here. And I was like, we've got to do a John Waters film. So any opportunity I have to do that. And I love Matthew Lillard, so it's great. But let's go ahead and talk about it some more and talk about some of our favorite scenes that kind of stuck out to us.
Yeah, my first scene, and I think it is my favorite scene, is the phone call. The original first phone call. Is that we get the background of what we said, Beverly having a very charmed life, just a typical housewife, who typical normal everything, and we do learn that the neighbor or some Dottie in the neighborhood is getting terrorized by a prank phone caller, which I'm like, get rid of caller ID. This is way more fun to have these prank phone calls. We can't do prank phone calls anymore. I love this. So, and when she calls Beverly, and we'll get to it when we talk about the quote, or Beverly calls Dottie, anonymously, is saying horrific things to her and is terrorizing this woman via the phone and puts on this like scratchy voice and calls her a cocksucker, and it's like it feels out of nowhere. We're just like, oh, this is happening, and it is so funny. And it is just such a 180 from, again, what the lead up was. Like, there's maybe some underlying, like, oh, maybe the mom's not quite right, vibes up until this point, but not like this. And like, it is jaw-droppingly shocking, and it is so funny.
Yeah, and this comes right after, I think, the breakfast scene,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, where it is, typical suburban life. Everything is very uh or I don't even know what Beaver Cleaver's mom's name is, but Mrs. Cleaver, that's all you can think of whenever you see it. The cop even references it when he leaves their house. Um, but we do see that fly before
Mhm.
this, and her like getting so annoyed with this fly and like wanting to kill it, and it's ruining her perfect breakfast that she's prepared. And so we get that little hint there, and then when she goes up to the room, it is very classic. One of a surprising thing, and if you've ever seen Kathleen Turner in anything before, and I don't think that you had, um, it's just kind of a big 180 from some of the stuff she's done. She's not like necessarily clean cut or anything like that, but just to hear the string of expletives out of her mouth, even with her character, is just jaw dropping.
It is jarring, like, because that is, I mean, the things that she is saying are like, oh, okay, that we're going there. All right, sounds good. Like, it is like every expletive you can think of in the worst possible way.
And I loved it. And the cops have come. They have already come over at this point
Yeah.
to see, hey, if they have had any disturbances or anything like that, because one of their neighbors has been getting these phone calls.
Yeah, and she plays it cool, and she's like, "That, oh, poor Dottie, that's so awful. Who would do such a thing?" And she talks about and again, like, we're getting the something's not right vibes when she talks about the birds outside. She's like, "Oh, nothing has to be violent. It could just be peaceful. Listen to the birds, ooh-wee, ooh-wee," and that goes on far too long.
It made it very uncomfortable.
Most of the movie, I'm sitting there like,
Yeah, what's gonna happen next? It's hilarious and a great start to this movie. That a movie that you're not supposed to take seriously. Everything in this is just showered with satire and sarcasm, and just, I mean, hitting you over the head with it. We see later, there's some later scenes that are so overt about the satire and everything. It's great.
I say that a lot when people, oh, it's satire, it's satire. Unless you can tell it's satire, it's not satire.
Oh yeah, and this one is very upfront. And
Late.
did we do another satire movie, you and me?
No, but you and I talked about The Substance.
Oh, The Substance is very satirical, I should say. All right, what next? What's next? Gosh, I can't talk today.
So I go all the way to the flea market.
Yeah, that was actually my first scene. Was the
Okay. I titled it Murder in the Bathroom.
I just put Carl killed at the swap meet.
And it's again, it's already insane. So Carl stood up Misty, who is Beverly's daughter. And at some point earlier, Misty says, "Oh, I wish he would die, or I wish I could kill him." And Beverly's like, And at this point, Beverly has already killed a person by running her over
Mhm.
with his car. Not that it's not violent, but there's no, like, they get progressively more violent as we go through. Getting run over by a car is murder number one. Murder number two is taking a fire poker and stabbing Carl in the back while he is peeing at the urinal. And then pulls it out, and there's gore and like grossness, and just goes back to her daughter and her friend with the bloody, I'm like, I think that's part of the, like, obviously part of the humor in this is that Beverly does not give a shit about being found out. Like, I think it's a game that she is very much so enjoying, that she feels like she's getting away with it. She's coming in with these close calls, and she also feels justified in her killing, teacher being a jerk to her son, boyfriend being a jerk to her daughter. She's like, these people clearly deserve to die, and I don't care who finds out. And just is like carrying around the murder weapon in this swap meet, and everyone is freaking out and like screaming about.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like she is cleaning up messes or taking care of a pet, like the fly at the beginning of the movie. Like that is all it is to her. It is something that is a nuisance that deserves death, that is making other people in her life unhappy. She's a people pleaser, I would say. Especially to those that she loves, and she likes things done a certain way. She's like a one wing two if you do like if you do Enneagram.
Okay.
We can have an Enneagram session after this.
Oh, I want to. Let's just diagnose
The whole set, the whole cast. Yeah, no, I love that scene. But yeah, it is unique to me that she doesn't clean off like she doesn't care that much, and it's because she's like, oh, I did a good thing.
Yeah, in her and there's it's not just about like protecting her family. There's also a level of justice for rule following, which is again such a Beaver Cleaver mom trope that is done really well. But you know, like the white after Labor Day, the wear your seatbelt, the those chewing gum, yes, all things that are it's very prim and proper, and she takes care of these things in a not so prim and proper way, and it is fantastic.
Yes, I love it. And I read some reviews on Letterboxd earlier, and a lot of them were like, yeah, every single one of Beverly's kills were justified, legalized murder. And it was that, I mean, I don't know how many of them I saw, but they were like, everybody that she killed was an awful person. So
every single one was like, yes, queen. Review.
Yeah, because Carl, I mean, he stood up Misty and then came in with a new girl at the swap meet. I guess there's not a lot to do in this town.
No, yeah, I guess not. Misty works at the swap meet as a side gig
because she sells cool like memorabilia, like that Pee Wee Herman doll is amazing.
Yes, it was what a fun. There's so many fun like little in this movie.
Oh yeah. What's your next scene?
I take it all the way to the murder of the old woman.
Oh,
at the movie rental.
Okay, so my next scene was the dual murder of Ralph and Betty Emerson, I think is what their names were.
Completely forgot about that one.
Oh yeah. Who were demanding that her husband, that Beverly's husband, do dental work for them on a weekend. And she's like, well, that's a weekend thing, and he's taking time away from his family to do that. So I'm going to teach you a lesson. And this is a fun scene too, because they think her kids and her husband already think, oh, our mom is killing people.
Yeah.
And they go over to the friend's house thinking that she's going to go after him for not wearing a seatbelt, and doing whatever he's doing at the time. So you get this like parallel of like her going into a house. We think that she's going to be going over to, or they think that she's going to be going over to the friend's house, but instead she shows up at this old couple's house and murders the wife with scissors. Yes, the sewing scissors. And then as the husband is trying to leave the house, she drops an air conditioning unit on his head in a very like Wile E. Coyote fashion. It was very Looney Tunes in that sense.
Most of these murders are very Looney Tunes. Like, again, they get more and more insane the further and crazy the further back we go in the movie.
Yeah, it's and it leads to it. I mean, it lends itself to this being more of a comedy, and the absurd blood that comes out and the gore and everything. It's also like a callback to slasher films of the 70s, 80s, with some of the like just very red, bright blood and the crazy kills that we see. Now there aren't like there is some pretty good kills in this movie. If you're a horror person that likes kills, there are some fun ones.
I do like too, like, and I love when a movie does this, or when movies call back to other movies, or musicians call back to other musicians in their art. It's just like an homage, and they do that a lot with horror films, like Matthew Lillard's character working at a movie rental store, and he's like really into monster movies, and it's like an homage to what the movie that Serial Mom is trying to do, and it's like you can tell this is something that John Waters loves.
Yes.
That you can tell, like, the heart was put into the movie.
Yeah, John Waters' big thing is like pushing the boundaries and disrupting the norm and loving those movies of the, going way back to Psycho in the 60s, and showing these violent films that, and most horror films are often, criticisms or commentaries on what's happening in life and everything. But people of the time only focused on, oh, that's gross, that's disgusting, the gore, like it's unnecessary, and like what's the point of all this. And like Waters loves to just play around in that, and he's like, you're not a gross person for liking these things, you're not a gross person for having fetishes. In some of his other movies he talks very highly on like fetishes and sexuality and things like that, but you're not a gross person for doing these things. And he that is the one thing across all the films that I've seen anyway, and what I've gotten from like John Waters anyway, is like taking these weird people, putting them around normal people and seeing them go up. You see it in Hairspray really well, and he uses racism as the way to talk about that. Racism and body types and things like that. He does that in a very good way in Hairspray, and then all of his other movies are similar in that regard. Like we see Lillard's character, and he's a good student, he's a good boy. He just likes horror films, and he likes to watch them with his friends, and they're not doing anything wrong. It's we see a lot of that, like satanic panic in the 80s and 90s. Of these people freaking out with, these kids are just enjoying things. They're not, murdering anybody. They just think they're fun or funny or interesting. And Waters does that really well, I think, with his storytelling. So
Yeah, I loved it. It definitely comes through in this movie.
yeah. So I've got another one before the Mrs. Jensen murder, which is the church scene, and it's a brief scene, but I love this scene. Both of us come from, religious backgrounds. No shade to religion or anything like that, but it was a very funny scene that all the cops are outside waiting to arrest Beverly. They know that she is the serial killer mom, serial mom, as they say. And this preacher is preaching on capital punishment, and saying like, did Jesus ever say anything about the people that were murdering him or murdering him? Nope. So let's just keep doing, like, let's put people to death. So he didn't say it on the cross that we shouldn't kill these people. So let's do it. I really wanted to point that out. I love that scene, and think that is something that, holding a mirror up to some preaching and some, religious institutions that, hey, you're twisting things, or
And yeah, that's certainly part of it, and it is specifically Catholic. It is a Catholic mass, but you can see like all of the people in the church are like looking sideways at Beverly, like, this bitch is here and she just murdered like 5 people, and then so it's like the judgment. On top of that, and then it's just also funny that in the midst of murdering people on Friday and Saturday, on Sunday, Beverly is in her cute little dress, and she's like, everybody get in the car, we is going to church. And it is like very, it's ironic in multiple ways.
Yeah. It's and like they don't cover that, and I know that according to, we're not going to get into a religious discussion here and the thing, but they don't cover that. They just skip over it, and I think that's the part of it, like picking around things to get your message the way that you want your message, and I think that's what they're trying to show in the movie. So don't really want to get into the religious part of it. It's just a fun movie. with funny things. But now we can talk about the Mrs. Jensen leg of leg of lamb is what I wrote down.
This is just, I think, one of the most insane kills. And again, at this point, her family knows. Everyone knows that she is a murderer. And her son is still maybe in denial, but he's like, man, this is crazy. Like almost leaning into, like, again, he really likes horror movies, serial killer movies. So he's like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But they were like, he and his girlfriend, who both work at the movie store, are like, maybe we should go hide her. We should hide mom because there's a lot of craziness. The cops are trying to arrest her. We just did a getaway car situation. Let's go hide her for a minute. And then this elderly woman comes into the movie rental store, is a jerk to Matt Lillard, to Chip, his name, character. And of course, serial mom overhears this as she is hiding. She goes, that's the next one. You're going to be a jerk to my son. Let's go. And then kills this woman in her own home in the most insane way possible by taking a leg of lamb and beating her to death with it while this woman is watching Annie.
Perfection. This is my favorite scene in the entire movie.
It's probably the craziest.
And probably where they spent the most money too, because fun fact, they had to pay $60,000 for that song to play.
I wrote that fun fact down because of John Waters' reputation, and in his previous movies making them so obscene, and like the genuine nature of being lewd or what have you. They were like, you want to use this? You're going to pay $60K.
Yeah. And it's such a unique scene. The kids are trying to track down Beverly at this time. You see all this. The girlfriend, I think, is one of my favorite people in this like section because she's like terrified. And Matthew Lillard's character Chip is so excited about everything. He's like, she doesn't need a lawyer. She needs an agent. Like, we got to capitalize on this, and people are going to love mom because she's my mom and I love her. And this is all so cool. She's killing, awful people. But yeah, just seeing the blood and her getting beat to death while Annie is playing in the background. Perfection.
Wild.
Hands down my favorite. Probably my favorite thing that I've seen this Halloween season is that scene.
Good.
So I'm pretty happy. I was happy about it.
Even better than Hotel Transylvania.
Whew, I know, that's a close one. Love Hotel Transylvania and some of the things that it has to offer, but I think the leg of lamb kill is definitely my favorite kill that I've seen. No real killing in Hotel Transylvania.
True.
It was lacking.
Lacking
kills, some would say. Other scenes?
The last one I have is the trial.
Yeah, I just put down trial as well.
Just trial. Yeah, so serial mom gets caught. And this slasher movie turns into a courtroom movie very quickly. And it's like, again, they're bringing her in, and she sees her. She's like, "Hi, kids, are you doing your homework?" And just like, again, oblivious and not caring that she is on trial for so much murder. And she decides to represent herself, which is a gutsy move, and she ends up doing it really well. Basically, every person who gets questioned up on the stand, she's able to charm and twist her way out of it, and eventually convinces the jury that she is, in fact, considered innocent. And it's quite impressive. And there's a whole movie that, so we said, Summers?
Suzanne Summers, yeah.
Suzanne Summers is going to play her in the movie. That everyone's like, free serial mom. And she has gained a following. It is quite impressive. And she ends up being dubbed not guilty.
I love, there's so much that happens, like her interviewing or her cross-examining the woman from the beginning of the movie that she was prank phone calling, and just getting her to swear so that like they strike all of her testimony from. It's so funny. Her, before she dismisses her lawyer, writes him a note that says, "Hey, juror number 8 is wearing white after Labor Day and should not, like, this is wrong." And she like every 2 or 3 times she like focuses on those white shoes that juror number 8 is wearing. Also played by Patty Hearst, who is most famous one. She's, a Nepo baby from the Hearst family, William Randolph Hearst, all that people. But she was kidnapped once upon a time by, I can't even remember the story. I think it was in the 60s or late 60s, maybe early 70s. She was kidnapped at a time, and Stockholm syndrome came in, and she started like working with her kidnappers to do all these things, and eventually they let her go. A lot of people don't think, like, just think that she kidnapped herself and had some friends that did it. And so she's an interesting character, and that is one thing that Waters likes to do too, is collect people, like all these weirdos. Tim Burton does it too. Like they just collect weirdos and put them in movies. So Patty Hearst is that person. We love her. So
Who inevitably is the final kill of the movie because of her wearing white after Labor Day. And she's like, no, fashion's changed. And she's like, no, it hasn't. She just gets beaten to death with a payphone phone.
And then just goes back to the press. She went to the bathroom to kill Patty Hearst, and then she comes back to do more interviews and yell at Suzanne Summers. And
this is my bad side.
I love that. I love that so much.
Like, the realization on everyone's face that's the ending, is that, oh my God, she did just murder someone literally 2 minutes after being dubbed not guilty, murdered again one of the jurors, and everyone's like look of horror was like, oh shit, we got caught up in this. We fucked up.
Any other scenes that we missed? That I think we covered a good part of them.
That's the movie. That's the whole movie.
That's the whole movie. It's a short movie. It's like an hour and a half long. Do check it out if you are into slashers, parodies, satire, John Waters at all. Check it out. Who's your favorite character?
I put Misty, the daughter, who we have not talked about at all.
We haven't talked about Misty at all. Yeah, you're right.
But I think Misty has so many running bits that is so like, she's just like funny on the side, like whenever she finds out her mom is a serial killer, she's like, no, I'll never get a boyfriend.
I love it. Yeah, that was one of my quotes.
It's like the dowdy daughter trope, and Ricky Lake does it very well. She also, again, anytime there's like that one paparazzi guy who keeps taking pictures of her, and she's just like,
yes, she's perfect.
And she's just like, again, a non-consequential character at all. Like Matthew Lillard as the brother is way more important to, or integral to the story than she is. She is total. I think she's like my scene stealer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think she is just like so dumb, but so great.
And she also has that running bit with the cop too. The policeman, that she flirts with every time she sees him. Hi, detective, whatever. Yeah.
Yes, and like Ricky Lake was considered to be like chubby at the time, so it's like there's so many tropes that go along with this that again are being commentated on by these films, and it's chef's kiss.
Yeah, she's wonderful in Crybaby. She plays Crybaby's sister in that, and she's a teenager. She's a pregnant teenager in that movie, and just she's hilarious in that, as well as when she's in Hairspray, as well as Tracy Turnblad. She's the OG. We love Ricky Lake. I mean, obviously, I went. Beverly is my favorite character. Just. Again, for the reasons that we've already talked about, like the scene where she's doing the prank phone call is one of the funniest things. And like her obsession with not recycling, and how she gets so mad at her neighbor for not recycling. And she's like buddy with the trash guys. I love them.
Interestingly, that kind of is interesting to me that like that she didn't murder her.
She was trying. She wanted to get she needed to get what's her face out of the house.
Yeah, it would have been. That's true. Oh, okay, you're right. Dottie was over. I thought she went over because she knew Dottie was there and she wanted to terrorize Dottie in person.
Yeah, I think the whole time, like she took what's her face to the swap meet because she wanted to kill her, and then Carl showed up and she was like, "This is more important. This is my daughter's that I need to defend." So, homegirl can wait.
Yes.
But I love I love the whole family. I think the dad is funny as well in the brief amount of time that he's in here. Just like surprised that his wife is hiding her love of serial killers like Ted Bundy
Yeah.
and Dahmer and all this stuff. Like she's hiding that away. Like and he's just like betrayed but also bewildered.
Yeah, I've never seen a man look so confused for the entire movie.
It's so good. But Chip, I love Chip. I love Matthew Lillard. I think this is the beginning of like the first part of Matthew Lillard's career, and this is kind of what probably got him into Scream.
Yeah.
Which
Matthew Lillard is like the OG Scream queen, other than it's like Winona Ryder is like the queen, and Matthew Lillard was the Scream king.
yeah, he's a great Scream king, and we love him in that. And then he ends up, being Shaggy in the Scooby Doo franchise, which just found out that he didn't like.
Yeah, it stunted
TikTok.
his career for quite some time, but
he's made a return, and he's embraced the Scooby Doo-ness, and he's done other films. Five Nights at Freddy's has kind of revitalized him too.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, in order for something to be a cult classic, time has to pass. So
Yeah.
it can't become a cult classic within the year or two after it comes out. It has to be 10, 15, 20 years before people are going, you know what? Scooby-Doo was actually a banger, and all with a star-studded cast. And that's where it's at now.
I love it. And any of my viewers that knock me for liking Scooby-Doo or watching Scooby-Doo can bounce. I know who you are, Joseph.
Take a hike.
So I love Chip. I think he's a great scene stealer. Everybody's just good in this. It looks like they're having fun anyway.
Yes.
And they're just rolling with it. All right, let's talk about some of these quotes that we've been talking about.
Okay, I've got so many. I have part one of the phone call, because she calls her one time, hangs up, calls her again, and pretends to be the phone company.
All right, I want you to read all these words and on the internet recorded so that I can send them to your parents.
Please, oh Jesus Christ. Hence why I didn't make your name my name, in case this ever comes up and my career is over. But Dottie answers the phone and says, "Hello? Is this the cocksucker residence? God damn you, stop calling here. Is it 4215 Pussy Way? You bitch. Now let me check the zip code. 212, fuck you. The police are tracing this call this very minute. Well, Dottie Hinkle, then why aren't they here, huh, fuckface? Fuck you." Hangs up the phone.
Classic. You did that so well.
Thank you. Is this the cocksucker residence is so funny.
just jarring to, like, you do not expect that at all.
No, because we've at no point, again, we know something's off, but we don't know what, and we don't expect this.
Just from June Cleaver's mouth, just to be like, is this the
It's almost like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she knows everything that she's doing, and that's the only difference of this. But yeah, her like personality, especially when she gets on the phone, is so funny.
Yes.
We love
Do you want
it.
to do a quote?
One of my favorite quotes of this movie is from Chip, and he says, "I'm so happy I could shit."
And then she's out. You know, I don't like the brown word.
I hate the brown word, Chip. Even though she just said the cocksucker line, 20 minutes before. I'm so happy I could shit. I think I'm going to interject that into my vocabulary.
You should.
From now on. You go ahead.
Chip says, "Mom, are you a serial killer?" And Beverly says, "The only cereal I know anything about is Rice Krispies."
I think you should be in a play of this. You should be the cereal mom. You'd be great.
I would kill it. As Beverly, I would nail this.
You would. You'd be so good.
I want to be in a 1950s dress, just screaming cocksucker at everybody.
That's your aesthetic. That is you. This 50s cocksucker. Middle fingers to the world. You're the Jay-Z of 50s moms. I'll go with another one. When the cops are chasing down Serial Mom, they say, Serial Mom's headed south on Keswick. Proceed with caution. She's armed and fucking nuts.
She's armed and fucking nuts.
Nuts. Go
Um,
ahead.
Misty says to her mom, I think they're referencing a serial killer, and she says, he killed people, Mom. And Beverly says, we all have our bad days.
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
Let's see. We already did the Misty one where she said, I'll never get a boyfriend. Eugene, her husband, is trying to understand Beverly. And he says, Beverly, I've read all about this. Is it menopause? And she just says, oh, honey.
Oh, honey.
Which, good for her.
Yes. And we have one that we already mentioned when Beverly says, do you think I need a lawyer? And Chip says, you need an agent.
Love that. I already referenced this one too. It's from the preacher, the priest. He says, Jesus said nothing to condemn capital punishment as he hung on the cross, did he? And the congregation says, no.
That's all I got. Do you got more?
I don't have any others. There are a lot of funny lines in this movie. Just a lot of things that Beverly says.
Yeah, so much of it is about the delivery or
Yes.
the irony of it. Like, yeah, just that we all have our bad days. Like,
What moment do you think packed the biggest emotional punch? Whether that's like biggest laugh, cry, scare, thrill?
I have a couple. So again, my favorite scene, her talking on the phone for the first time, calling Dottie Hinkle a cocksucker, is my biggest laugh. That was fantastic. Another bit that was like recurring through the movie that made me laugh was the line of cop cars.
Just waiting outside of the church.
And there's an endless stream. There's like 20 cop cars just following this family to church, and like anywhere she goes, they're just following her because they don't have the evidence yet to arrest her. But they're and it's just like cop car, like it's a running bit for several scenes, and that's very funny. And I also said my biggest thrill was the killing with the lamb leg, like, because she's in the house, and the dog is there, and we don't know if she's gonna get caught, and like the kids are like, Chip and his girlfriend are outside, they're trying to see it happen, and I'm like, what's gonna happen? And I'm like, this bitch is about to get killed, but how? And then she packs up that leg of lamb, and I'm like, what? And that, I think, was the biggest thrill of the movie.
That is also, like, I had the prank phone calls as one of my biggest laughs, and then the leg of lamb, of course. But that same scene goes right into my biggest what the fuck moment.
Same.
Is it yours too? You go ahead.
No, I would rather you describe this situation.
So I think she takes off her shoes.
The woman who was rude to Chip at the video rental.
Yes. Mrs. Jensen, I think is her name. She takes off her shoes and her dog comes over and she just lets him, like, encourages him, the dog, to lick her feet.
Yes.
And
in what appears to be a very sexual way.
It's something.
And she's belting, "The sun will come out tomorrow" at the and then you got Beverly behind her, and she just beats the shit out of her, and it's just like, what is happening?
Apparently they put butter on her feet to get the dog to lick her feet.
That was unnecessary.
But again, I think this goes towards like Waters and fetishization and I don't know, making people uncomfortable too, and he did that.
I do think too, like, there's an addition of when, like, if we really want to dig into this, and this is like I'm going to be an English teacher here for a second, but it's the idea that, hey, when we are home behind closed doors, we are a different person. We are our most comfortable and authentic self, and that means like fetishes or murderer, or, like, in a way. Like, she thinks she's home alone. She has no idea. She rented the movie she wanted to rent. She's having a good time. And again, it's very uncomfortable for the viewer, but it's this idea that, hey, we've all got baggage. Some of us murder, some of us have dogs lick our feet while we're watching Annie.
And maybe it's also supposed to be that this woman is mistreating this dog. So we get another excuse like, oh, she's making that dog lick her feet. This is just another excuse for her to not exist in this world anymore.
Agreed.
Because she doesn't do anything to the dog. Beverly doesn't.
No, actually, Beverly gives the dog the lamb leg.
That's very kind.
Yeah, she didn't want him to go hungry.
Free Beverly. Free mom.
Free
Any other the movie is filled with what the fuck moments, ridiculous moments, because that's just how it plays.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that we're missing?
No.
I do have one.
Okay,
when they walk in on Scotty, Scotty, who is just beating his meat to
furiously.
just one of the craziest real pornography that is authentic pornography that he's watching in there. I had this as one of my did you know fun facts, is that he is watching Chesty Morgan, who's the actress's name, Chesty Morgan's Deadly Weapons from 1974.
That was my nickname in high school. No.
They called me Chesty Morgan.
Deadly Weapons is amazing.
So which one was your name in high school? Chesty Morgan's or Deadly Weapons? Or was it
Deadly
Chesty Weapons?
Horrific. I'm done.
I'm sending this immediately to your parents.
I hope they never find this.
I'm posting this on all social media platforms.
Great.
Best music moment. We've already talked about one, I think, of this movie. The Annie thing.
I had the concert.
Okay, yeah, I had them too.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild. Again, we get Scotty's death by being burned alive after apologizing for not wearing his seatbelt. But the band, which was also a name I considered, was Camel Lips. They rocked out. They were great. They were a real band, I do believe, not named Camel Lips, but
L7 is the name of the band.
They did a great. I mean, that was a fun, everyone's rocking out, having a mosh pit situation. It was great.
Yeah, they were Camel Lips, and they all wore prosthetic camel toes in their pants.
Yeah.
That were jarring.
Yes.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah, still a band, still rocking out. They reformed in 2014 after a long hiatus, 13 years, but they're still a band. They're still rocking out and doing things. So give L7 their props. It's an American punk rock band, all women. So if you're into punk rock music, check them out. L7.
I dig it.
Weenie. All right, let's move over to our Fuck, Marry, Kill section of today's.
Ooh.
Are you excited?
I have one.
You have one?
Yeah, you go first.
I was struggling with this, so yours is probably going to be better than mine.
Oh, I didn't go with people.
Oh.
I went with ways to die.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, so fuck, marry, kill.
Yeah.
Being stabbed while peeing at the urinal.
Ooh.
Being set on fire at a concert. Or being bludgeoned to death by a payphone.
Ooh, okay.
My favorite kills of the movie.
I think I would kill burning to death.
Okay.
Although, because I feel like it would be the most pain.
None of these are pleasant.
No. But that's the joy of an F, marry, kill situation. Is what are we going to do? Which one would we rather? I think I'm going to marry getting stabbed at the urinal.
Really?
Yeah, because I think I'm at least doing something that's kind of relieving.
Oh, see, that's my worst case scenario. I'm killing being stabbed while peeing.
Yeah, the iron to the back sounds most pleasant. Yeah, it's stabbed by the iron. I think I'd marry that.
It's probably the quickest.
Well, see, it's different for guys than it is for girls, just because, I'm at a urinal, I'm standing, I don't see it coming. I'm doing something. If you're a girl and you're getting stabbed while peeing, you're seeing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I am, and that I literally have nightmares about this. Is people come in and don't leave, and they want to have conversation with me while I'm using the restroom. That is a literal nightmare that I have constantly. So that is the one I'm killing. Is I do not like if I'm in the bathroom, I do not want to be killed there.
I think I'm marrying that one. This is good. This is so good. Um,
Put a lot of thought into this.
yeah. No, I think burning to death is like one of the yeah, you don't want to burn to death. I think I'm killing that one because it's just so it takes too long. There's a chance that you might not live like might not die right away. You're
Right.
going to die.
But burning to death at a concert is the most metal thing you can do.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about my pain.
I'm fucking that one.
I think the payphone is how I'm going to go. I think I'm going to fuck that one.
Oh, I'm fucking the concert. Because that's what a metal way to go out. Just burning alive at this punk show where everyone is chanting for your death.
Now, if you would have said the leg of lamb one,
I should.
I might have married the leg of lamb one because at least I might have a tasty treat while I'm going.
That's fair. If I would flip out one, I would switch out the leg of lamb with the telephone. But I feel like being bludgeoned to death seems like a quick way to go.
Hopefully.
I mean, like she got a couple licks in there, but
Yeah.
eventually you get hit in the head, you get knocked out.
You just knocked out. Yeah.
So to me, and also again, that girl was feeling great. She was like, we set this woman free. We're feeling great. Everything's fantastic. There wasn't enough time to feel afraid.
hmm
She was riding high, and then she was like, oh, and then again, I'm someone who wears white after Labor Day because I have a very limited closet. So I'm like, that's probably the way I would go. I'm going to marry that one.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I think I'm sticking with my one. I think because of the way I pee, I think that I'm marrying that one, and that's the way I want to go. So anybody that's out there,
Please don't kill him.
this is how I want to go. Please don't burn me at a concert.
Oh, we're good.
You're so metal. I was gonna do people, and I was gonna do Beverly, Dottie, and Rosemary.
Oh. You have to marry Beverly.
Have to, right? She's
Because-
loyal,
You. Loves her family.
loves her family.
Would do anything for her family. If I am her daughter and I say, Mom, so-and-so wronged me, she's like, bet. Like, I'm in. I'm marrying Beverly. I'm probably killing Rosemary.
Yeah,
And I'm fucking Dottie.
yeah.
That just seems like the way to go.
Dottie's got a mouth on her, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes I forget that this is live.
Yeah, we're live, pal. This is live and recorded, so what's more metal than that?
Welcome, Spotify listeners.
Exactly. Who do you think gave the best performance?
Oh, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Beverly, Kathleen Turner, best performance, hands down.
So glad she's in this. It's great. I love Kathleen Turner's just whole thing. She also she's got a great voice too. She's got that like deeper voice. She's the voice of Jessica Rabbit, if you didn't know.
No way.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. So this is the sexy voice of Jessica Rabbit is Kathleen Turner.
Dig it.
All right, let's do some recasting. If you had to cast the roles for the leads in this movie, if it were made today or in 1994, you can do both. So,
Well, I never do 94, so I'm gonna pass that to you.
so the only thing I thought maybe could be good in this role for Beverly, other than Kathleen Turner, is Shelley Long, or Sybil Shepherd. They're both. I mean, same aesthetic that we're getting here with Beverly, blonde. Shelley Long is very proper. She's, you've seen her probably in Cheers. She plays Diane in Cheers. She's very proper, very well-to-do, and I think she would have nailed that part as well. And Sybil Shepherd's very much the same, just like very prim and proper, but also Sybil kind of has like a twisted side to her, and I think that she would be good. So,
Right.
all right, let's move into 2024. I only cast Beverly and Eugene.
I have the whole family.
Oh, nice. I love that.
I the only one that I feel very strongly about is Beverly, and I casted Renee Zellweger.
Ooh, that's good.
Solely, I think like they look similar. I also
Mhm.
think that again we see her in Chicago. Like I feel like she could do the kind of twisted while also being the sweet. So she was the number one. A backup I had was Anna Kendrick, because of the movie A Simple Favor.
Yeah, I was just thinking that when you said that.
And she's in her 40s. Like that would be like a doable. I know she looks very young, but it could be a doable role. So then she would be my backup. But Renee Zellweger is my top. For the dad, I had a couple. Sam Richardson is my number one.
That's great. I love that.
Specifically, was looking for a dude who could just look shocked the entire movie, like because he's just like.
I love that.
So I had Sam Richardson. I think he's funny. He's hilarious. He could play the doty husband. For Misty, I had Ayo Adibri because I love her. And I think she's also hilarious. I think she could play a fun Misty, just being like, now I'll never get a boyfriend. Like, it'd be very funny. And then for Chip, I had two. I had Justice Smith, who I literally cast in everything because
I do the same thing. I love him.
I love him. I think he's fantastic. And I also put David Thompson, who I have never seen, but it's specifically for his look. I think he could, because he's in that new Netflix movie that's a kind of a horror-ish movie. He's kind of got a big nose. Like I think his vibe is horror movie. He's been in quite a few. Again, I don't watch horror, so I've never seen them. But solely for his look, he kind of has a Matthew Lillard vibe. And that's why I had him as my backup, but I prefer Justice Smith.
Interesting.
I also kind of looked and yeah, there's a new Netflix movie. Again, it's one of those ones where I'm going to read the Wikipedia synopsis and you're going to watch it and tell me if you liked it. But with Ayo and Justice, I also kind of thought it would be fun to do like a gender swap with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ayo's like can be really cool and like into the horror film, and Justice can be like more like the Misty, where he's kind of like awkward and like but mom, like I don't know. It could go either way, but that is my cast.
Okay. I like that. I like those. The Sam Richardson one really got me.
I would like that one.
Yeah, that one's good. For the main character, the Beverly character, I had a bunch of women just like listed here. Reese Witherspoon, Christina Hendricks, from Mad Men, the redhead.
Yeah.
January Jones, also from Mad Men, and specifically thinking of her in Mad Men, because she's already playing that, like, trying to play that housewife. Ellie Kemper, I thought would be kind of a fun, like, switch.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, because she could play the really sweet, and then the Jekyll would be fun with her.
Yes.
I also, for the husband, I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Justin Long.
Yeah, the kind of the same vibe of a dude.
Just dopish, just kind of like, but Beverly, like, just like,
Beverly.
is it menopause? Like, I don't know. That Charlie Cox, he is in Stardust and Daredevil, the show that came out. I think he kind of, they all have the same vibe there. And then I thought another fun thing for both the husband and wife might be Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yes, that would be so good.
I loved that. I was like, oh, they'd be cute together. And
actual married couple. Sarah Michelle Gellar with her Buffy background can be quite stabby.
Mm-hmm.
He can really lean into the Fred. I also love, bring back Matthew Lillard in some capacity. Maybe make him a kill, like maybe the husband who got killed or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is great. We're redoing this movie.
I think we should. Absolutely. Anybody else? Anybody else have suggestions? Please feel free to put those in the chat. As other than that, those are the only ones I cast. Now let's move on to some of our fun facts about the film. We've already covered a couple of them. I didn't write down too many. I did write down the body count though. I wanted to bring that back. I actually brought the body count back last week and just didn't read it
Oh,
on my last episode. So
but
sorry about that.
count?
What now?
What was last week's body count?
Oh gosh, I think it was like 30 something. I could pull it up. It's very important to all listeners, viewers of this. Let's see. The body count for Interview with the Vampire was 56.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a lot of bodies in that one. The body count in this one, 7.
A modest 7.
Modest. And modest is hottest. Hey. What other things did you look up?
The video store in the film was John Waters' actual local video store.
Oh, that's so much fun. I love that.
Kind of gave me Clerks vibes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's the same thing.
I had the thing about Matthew Lillard's first film. I had the thing about To Buy Tomorrow. They had to pay $60,000. But the only other, and the body count, the only other one that I had is that Beverly bludgeons Mrs. Jensen to death with a leg of lamb. This is a reference to the short story Lamb to the Slaughter. So there was a purpose behind the, because I was like, what the fuck? And then there is actually a purpose behind the leg of lamb.
Other things that I looked up, opening credits claim that this is a true story. This is actually not the case. This is just part of the satire of the film and of true crime. It's interesting that, that they have a movie like this that sets it up as like, oh, this is a true crime story. And then the popularity of true crime and where it would be after this movie.
Because that's something that I am not a true crime fan. For people who are a true crime fan, there's no hate. Like if that's something that you enjoy as a form of content, then that's fine with me. To me, one, it grosses me out. But two, I do have a qualm with the idea of capitalizing off of someone's death or capitalizing off of someone being a bad person, a murderer, a serial killer. Like, I know people are fascinated by it because it's not the ordinary and it's fucked up for lack of a better term. In terms of like a psychological space, again, even the television show Mindhunter like is based on serial killers, but not real. But you're right. I never thought of like the true crime, like people getting like really into it, becoming a multi-billion-dollar industry, specifically in the podcast world. Like it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
That's an interesting commentary from 1994 because it's certainly something that we would very much see. You could easily remake this movie today and make it even hard, like hit it over the head even harder if you wanted to. And
it comes out during, especially that courtroom scene, where it's just somebody capitalizing off of these murders and everything and trying to make a celebrity out of it. This is situation right between the Menendez brothers, which is really popular right now, but the Menendez trial happened in 93 and then the O.J. Simpson trial happens in 95.
Yeah.
So we're like sandwiched in between. And so it's unique or not unique, but really interesting that this was a popular thing during this time. And then 30 years later, it seems like it's just that, like, if not more popular at this time.
It's only exploded.
Yeah, it's great. Great is not the word I would use, but yeah. Let's see. The answer to the puzzle. This is something that really interested me. The answer to the puzzle. You said it?
I said it.
I don't remember you saying it. I'm very sorry.
Yes, but I got it right.
Good job. Well, for anybody that has watched it and they were wondering what the solution to the puzzle on Wheel of Fortune, the show that was playing when Betty Sterner was murdered, is opposites attract. That was the clue. So good job, you. You come from Wheel of Fortune royalty, though.
I've seen a lot of Wheel of Fortune. My dad was on the show in '99, I believe.
It's true. I've seen the clips. I've seen the footage. It exists.
Wild.
DM me if you want to see it.
It's a very YouTube search.
No, you got to DM me. I'll hook it up. I already did Chesty Morgan. Julie Andrews was considered for the role of Beverly Sutphin. Could you imagine seeing Julie Andrews say cocksucker? You just went crab mode there.
Nothing could bring me more joy. I don't think you understand. The Queen of Genovia.
You're not even going for freaking Mary Poppins. You went for the Queen of Genovia.
Queen of Genovia. Screaming cocksucker. It is, oh my god. We've been robbed.
Mary Poppins saying 4215 Pussy Way. Just, that does it for me. We did miss out on this.
We did.
It's a
Though
shame.
Kathleen did a great job.
She did a great job. We love her.
She
Love
did-
her. All right. Like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose? Or if you have songs or books that you want to accompany the film, you can do that as well.
I actually
Also,
5.
you have 5. I have 4. So
This is I went all in. So the first one is Scream, solely because Matthew Lillard and a slasher film.
Mhm.
The second one I have is Hairspray. John Waters, Ricky Lake, also takes place in Baltimore, which they mentioned that briefly in this film. It is a Baltimore film. So I was like, okay, just you want to have a John Waters night, watch Hairspray and Serial Mom. I said A Simple Favor of housewives being slightly murderous. I put Drop Dead Gorgeous.
That's one of mine.
Drop Dead Gorgeous is a fantastic one. Again, like this competitive, like this, like almost like Cupcake and Sparkles type of person being quite murderous to get what they want. And the last one I have, and I have to explain this a little bit, is the musical Anything Goes. So have you ever seen Anything Goes?
Just through you.
Okay, so the plot of Anything Goes is that there's multiple plots happening. They're on a cruise ship in the 1920s. 19 teens, 1920s. And the thing about cruise ships during that time was that celebrities would be on cruise ships. Like that was kind of like a thing. So you could potentially run into celebrity or meet a celebrity on a cruise ship. And that was, again, cruise ships were only for the wealthy. So that was like a thing. And part of the plot of Anything Goes is that there are no celebrities on this boat. They are very disappointed by that, this boat's it's not going to make news headlines. Nothing matters. We only have this one kind of like showboat singer who has a weird reputation. Like there's no celebrity on this boat. And then we find out that they say public enemy number 1. So the FBI, CIA's like number 1 most dangerous person in the world is on this boat. And the main character gets mistaken for this person. He is on the boat, but like the main character gets mistaken for the public enemy number 1. And everyone is thrilled because they're like, hey, we got a celebrity. So they're like, hip, hip, hooray. Like they're cheering, like he becomes the celebrity of the boat, even though he is incorrectly assumed to be public enemy number 1. So again, tying it into Serial Mom, again, there was such hype behind Serial Mom. People were like, free her, she's wonderful. Like, I think she's innocent. I think that's all part of the show Anything Goes. That this idea that a murderer becomes a celebrity. So that's why again, very camp. It's theater, it's musical. So that's why I picked that one.
Nice. I like that. That's a good pairing. Anything else?
No, those are my 5.
All right. Well, I have 3 now because you stepped on one, but that's okay.
My bad.
If you want absurdist comedy, and if you are a fan of Adult Swim kind of material, I recommend The Greasy Strangler. It is kind of a slasher film to go along with this. It might be the complete opposite of of this movie, but if you're looking for something really absurd with kills in it, I wouldn't recommend it for you.
No.
Personally, but yeah, Greasy Strangler. I think it's been commented on a couple times on this before, specifically by Spencer. He loves The Greasy Strangler. Drop Dead Gorgeous. Stepford Wives. There's both. There are 2 versions of the Stepford Wives, but Beverly kind of fits into that mold of a Stepford wife. And like when things aren't going their way or anything, they become a little bit, stabby. And that could be kind of a reference to that. And then also I thought Natural Born Killers was a good film to go along with this. Another movie from 1994, where about the couple that goes on a killing spree, but mostly it has to do with the commodification of crime
Mhm.
and making money off of crime and being celebrities, and that's what the back half of Serial Mom really does is make the celebrity or the commodification of the murder. So I think it kind of fits along with that. I don't love my movie pairings. I think you should stick with probably, like, I like the Drop Dead Gorgeous one. I like yours, and I do think any John Waters you want to pair with it is going to be good too.
Mhm.
um, Crybaby. We got to watch Crybaby.
I'm in.
Yes. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to rewatch this movie?
5.
5. I
I'd watch
love that.
out of this.
That's good. That's good. I put 2. Yeah, I don't know. I know that's shocking. I just, it was fine. It's
I love a comedy. To me, this is like this kind of, I mean, again, it's not a Halloween movie, but it falls into the realm of like of a cult classic, of a kind of like a what movie? Heathers.
hmm
It kind of falls into a Heathers where it's like campy, it's cult classic, it's murderous. It's something I would watch in October. I would definitely watch this again. I had a great time.
Yeah. It does pay homage to slasher movies of the 70s and 80s too. So yeah, I think it falls as a horror movie.
I'm also someone who does not watch horror.
Mhm.
So for myself, it makes sense that I am more likely to watch this when you are like, yeah, bring on The Exorcist.
I've watched some slasher movies this week. They have not. I've been kind of. This one is better than those that I've watched recently.
Oh,
Yeah, in my opinion. Okay, out of 5 stars, rate the film overall.
I gave it a 4.
Nice.
I had fun. I had a great time. I think Beverly's performance is genuinely outstanding. Like, I had no idea where this movie was going in any way, shape, or form. I'm also not very good at predicting movie plots, but I had a very fun time and would watch it again. And I give it a 4-star.
Awesome. I'm kind of shocked.
I know, me too. This is again, I don't love scary, but I love comedy. I love commentary. Like, I love satire. There is a weird realm of movie that I like. Heathers is American Psycho. This is falling into that weird subcategory that I genuinely love of murderous commentary, but also very fun.
Yeah.
And absurd. I love absurd. So yeah, I gave it a 4-star.
I just noticed in chat and didn't even acknowledge it, but Scary Movie was suggested when we were talking about movies that would be good to accompany this. That's an excellent one because of the amount of parody that goes along with this movie. Scary Movie, the Scary Movie franchise, of course,
I've seen those.
It fits right in perfectly with this movie. So
that's more if I'm gonna watch something scary, it's gonna be funny. It can't be just scary because like scary enough. I don't need more.
Well, I gave it 3 stars, which is not bad. That is a good movie. That is above being a bad movie. I did enjoy it. I liked it. I had fun with it. I'm just not flocking back to it as quickly as some others I would go to, but that's okay. Well, that's it for our show. Let me close everything out. Big thank you to Alyssa, White After Labor Day, for doing this and watching this and braving the horror movies this month and watching those. Anything that you've watched recently that you would recommend? I know we hang out a lot, so.
I did watch Corpse Bride. You and I haven't talked about that. You watched it, and I was like, I couldn't sleep one day, and I was like, let's watch this. So I enjoyed it very much because I remember we watched Nightmare Before Christmas last year, and it wasn't as like magical as I remembered it.
Yeah.
I think Corpse Bride is a way better movie.
I think it is a more complex story, and I think I liked that about it. Yeah.
I loved it. I had a great time. It was the first time I had seen it. So for a spooky Halloween movie, Corpse Bride was a great time if you've never watched it. I also watched Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge, which I don't necessarily recommend. But it is fun to note that the bad guy in that movie and the main character are now married in real life, and they reset, and that's very fun.
Nice. You've watched something else. How did and I'm going to ask you about it. How did you feel about Practical Magic?
Oh my god, I forgot about Practical Magic. I love Practical Magic. I had a great time. It's very again very cute, very witchy. I loved the soundtrack, very 90s, very Shania
hmm
Twain. I had a great time with that movie. It was so fun. I've also like I don't think I can recall a Nicole Kidman movie that I have seen that I can like be like, yep, that's a Nicole Kidman movie, and that might have been maybe one of my first movies of her I've watched, and I loved her in it.
And it's funny because she's like, obviously the two women they're both leads in it, but she kind of plays second fiddle to, like, it is mostly about Sandra Bullock's character.
Right, but right, Sandra Bullock is the straight man to Nicole Kidman,
hmm
comic relief. Um, but I thought I don't know Nicole Kidman other than we come to this place.
The AMC thing.
The AMC commercial. Like that's how I know her. And also being married to Keith Urban and not married to Tom Cruise.
Yes.
Those are like know very little about her acting career. And I loved Practical Magic. It is again, you couldn't even watch that. It's definitely a fall vibe, but this is not a story that necessarily has to happen at fall time.
hmm
So I always like that when it can cross seasons and very cute, very wholesome, good sister movie.
hmm
That I have a sister. I very much enjoyed it.
So good. All right. Anything else that you want to recommend to people?
Um,
Books, music, sunsets.
Sunsets. I sent you. I can't look it up now because I'm on my phone. I just sent you a guy that I found on TikTok, music wise. Fantastic, kind of like a jazz vibe.
hmm
He has a song called Scorpio. He has a song called Morning Sun. He just put out an EP that's got like 5 or 6 songs. If you like jazz music or easy listening, I've been listening to that dude on repeat, but I could not tell you what his name is.
I'm gonna look it up right now. See if I can find him just by searching.
Kind of gives me like
Otis Kane.
oh yes, Otis Kane. He gives me Otis Redding mixed with Leon Bridges.
Okay. All right. There you go, folks. Otis Kane. Check it out if you're into that jazzy, um, soulful kind of music. Check
Mhm.
that out. A couple movies that I've watched. I've been doing, again, 31 movies for the month of October, horror movies specifically. So I've watched a lot of good movies, a lot of bad movies. I've watched a lot of bad slasher movies more recently. So I won't talk about those, but a couple that have really stuck out to me is a South Korean horror film. It is a found footage movie, came out in 2018 called, I'm going to mispronounce this, Gonjiam, and it's Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. Um, this is my second of the found footage movies that I've watched this year that I've really enjoyed. The other being Hell House LLC. This one sets it up like it's a streaming, uh, like they're streaming this and they're trying to get viewers, and like the people behind it are, setting up things so that it'll scare the people they send into the haunted house. But then the haunted asylum is really haunted and starts taking over, and it's all about getting to 1 million views. That's what the whole movie is about. So
I have a question about that.
go for it.
Because you texted me and you were like, "Oh, this actually scared me," and
hmm
said you really liked it. You didn't rate it very high on Letterboxd.
I give it 3.5 stars.
I don't think that's very high for you.
I mean, I'm not. I am a curmudgeon when it comes out to handing out, big deal, like 5 star, 4 stars, things like that. 3.5 stars is good.
Okay, I didn't know. I thought I was like
That's on my level. Good.
based on your recommendation for it because you were like, it actually scared me. I thought it was great, and I know that this month you haven't been watching a lot of great scary movies. But I thought you would have rated it higher based on how much you raved about it.
Yeah, no, I loved it. Do I think that there were things obvious? Anything with like found footage too is kind of hard, and then I think there's also some things that don't come over translation wise, um, that are a little bit scarier maybe in South Korea than they are to, um, Americans who are used to, just the scariest shit in the world being thrown at them. There were some moments when I was like kind of laughing at stuff that I think was supposed to be scary, but it didn't take away my enjoyment from the movie. So not a bad question.
Just curious.
Yeah. And then what else do I got? I watched a like mumblecore werewolf movie called Blackout. It's on Tubi. Of course, got to do my Tubi shout out. Um, it had some really bad acting in it, but it also had some really like unique moments in it too. Like, it was not just about being a werewolf, but it had some other like social commentary things in there that at some points were a little bit off-putting. Like, there was some like Black Lives Matter stuff in there that I was like, why did we do this? And then there were some, because it just seemed out of nowhere. But the main crux of it was that all these deaths were happening and they were blaming an immigrant, and the town was like very, ganging up against the immigrant who absolutely didn't do any of these things. So that's part of it too. Corpse Bride, of course, I watched, and two others I'll mention briefly. Late Night with the Devil was pretty good. It's on Hulu right now, or Shudder if you're watching those. And then VIY, which is a Soviet Union horror film from 1967. It is silly, not very scary. There's an old like Japanese horror movie called House that is also very silly and has some of these like weird practical effects that they have on it. Like, at one point this girl is like surfing around this man and like she's a dead body, reanimated, and she is literally surfing around a guy in the middle of a room. So that one's unique, and I had a good time watching that one. So I just wanted to shout out that. It was also in my like 1,000 movies to watch before I die. So I'm glad I watched it before I'm dead.
Good.
Other than that, I don't have any other recommendations, which is okay. All right. Well, thank you, Alyssa. I'll continue going through the things that I have to talk about, but thank you as always for your time. You're wonderful, amazing. Of course. Just a heads up to folks. Sorry, I'm going to mute this so I don't cough in everybody's ear. Every month we have a bonus stream, and this month's bonus stream is called Game Over Man, where we talk about a couple we're talking about 2 movies this month. It happens this Wednesday. I'm a little iffy on the time. It's going to be Wednesday at either 6 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Eastern. I got to iron that out. But we're watching Double Dragon and we're watching Street Fighter, both movies based on video games. They're both terrible. Can't wait to talk about those and discuss those. We usually do it for about an hour. So more information on that, we'll probably be talking in the Discord, and that's where I'll also, if you want to join the Discord and join our talk, I recommend you join the Discord and are also a follower that I know of, or have like participated in this before. So not just any randos can join in, but anybody is free to join if you are, a participant. So I'll make sure and drop that link in there on Wednesday. Also, we had such a good time doing the Coen Brothers bonus director ranking episode that we're going to do another one. And I think because of the Discord and the poll in the Discord that I had going, that had let people about, it looks like we're leaning towards an Orson Welles movie ranking. I have not seen a lot of Orson Welles movies. I know a lot of you out there probably haven't seen these older films, Orson Welles films. He has, I think, 10, 13 films, maybe somewhere in there, to watch. So I don't know when we're going to do that, but if you want to go ahead and start preparing yourself or watching some Orson Welles movies, of course, his most famous movie is considered one of the greatest movies ever made, Citizen Kane. So we're going to talk about those, and I think we'd have a really good discussion because this isn't even a director. Like, obviously he's a great director, but this isn't somebody that I'm always like, yeah, you should watch Citizen Kane. It's, the best thing ever. So it could be a really interesting, fun one, and I can't wait to do that. And maybe you will join us, Alyssa. Maybe.
I'd love to.
And of course, you get all this information and more from joining the Discord server, and you're always welcome to follow us on Instagram or check out my account on Letterboxd. All the links are available on Twitch, and links in bio is where it is. Next week, we're actually going to we're starting a new month. And it's Disney month. Holla. And we're going to be talking about a few Disney movies, some of your favorites from your childhood. Next week, we're starting off. It might not be everybody's favorite. It was a favorite of mine during the 90s, in 1994 specifically, but it's Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. It is a live action version of The Jungle Book. From 94. Make sure you are watching the 1994 one. This is actually not on Disney Plus. Interestingly enough, not on Disney Plus. So it is only available on demand and wherever you can rent videos. So do check that out. And with that, I'm leaving you now. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you next time, next week for The Jungle Book, or this week for Game Over Man. And we'll see you next time on 52/1994, folks.